This latest set of Squarespace guides will focus on page settings in Squarespace. Here we'll explore the different page types available, everything from our flexible and highly versatile text page option, which allows us to build pages by section, through to folder systems, where we can have drop-down menus and make more efficient use of our pages in the top navigation. Then moving on, we have links, which allow us to link to internal pages. This is handy if we need a page to appear on multiple drop-down sections, all link into the same page so we don't have to duplicate content. And more frequently, we use this to link to external platforms or systems or websites. In our example, we will cross-link between Pixel Haze Academy and Pixel Haze Studio, Academy being our training arm and the studio being our business-to-business agency. There are other options as well, like for example, the ability to create a blog. We generally add this once and then add multiple blog items to that archive instead of adding a new blog section every time we want to add a post. And that's the same for the calendar option. And also then we've got the e-commerce option to be able to add one or more stores to our Squarespace site. Although we won't be going into detail on each of these areas, I will be creating new tutorials in the near future covering each of these aspects in Squarespace to get you up and running. But we are going to look at individual page settings, how we can rename pages, how we can make sure the URL is nice and clean and reflects the page content. So we've got quite a bit to cover in this tutorial, so let's crack on. In Squarespace, to update an existing page, we've got two approaches. We can either find the page on our navigation, go to that site, go to that individual page, and from there we can click Edit via this button. However, another alternative approach, especially if you've got a page that's not on the menu system, you can instead go to Pages in this left-hand navigation. We click on Pages and we can see our pages that sit on the top menu. And this one here is a text page or blank. Flexible page, think of this as a one-size-fits-all. It allows us to create content in sections, which I'll cover in another tutorial, and we can build up to as long a page as we want within reason. We can create highly bespoke, unique layouts using this approach. Next up, we have the folder system. The folders offer this pull-down menu here so we can group multiple pages in one section so that our hero navigation or main navigation on our website that sits in this masthead section doesn't become unruly. Note that Squarespace calls the masthead a header section so we don't get confused. We have the option for a customized button that doesn't sit and follow the format of the main navigation. This is edited via going into the masthead editing options, which again will be covered in another tutorial. If I was to scroll down this left menu system here, we can see that we've got a lot of pages fitting into this navigation system. Additional page types could include a link option. This allows us to link to third-party pages or websites where it is not a page itself. We also have blog posts where we can see this fountain pen icon. This allows us to put multiple pages or posts into one section. Most of the pages here though are the standard text page option, similar to the home page as I've just demoed. And finally we've got the store. This is a place for our products to allow us to update and edit them. And for future tutorials as part of this knowledge base, I'm going to be covering each page type individually, showing how you can update them and how you can maintain them. But before we wrap up, there's two additional sections. We've got member sites. So if you subscribe to the highest plan on Squarespace, you'll be able to create member-specific areas. This means that your visitor will need a login and password, which could either be free or they could pay on a subscription to your site, and then they can access these password protected sections. Finally, we've got not linked, and I've got way too many in here. I need to do some organizing. These are pages that you don't want to appear on the navigation system. So it could either be a page that you have in draft, or it could be a page that you link to from multiple sections and you don't want to link from the home page directly. Alternatively, it could be a standalone landing page for a specific email campaign. There's so many versatile ways of using the different page styles within Squarespace, and these are just a few. In this, I'm going to show you how we can add a new page to our menu system or in the not link section below. But before we do that, we just want to make sure that we're logged into Squarespace. If I go back to the home page on the admin, what we should see is the website preview on the right-hand side, and then the navigation system for the admin on the left. If we go to pages, we can now see the pages that are on our menu system or our navigation as shown here. We can expand and collapse these folders. Folders are essentially drop-down menus for pages. just to tighten it up so we can navigate through more easily. So now we've got that nice and compact so we can see where we are. We can click on this plus icon to add the page to the main navigation, or we can click on the plus next to member sites. So this is a secure area for subscribers, whether you charge for subscription or provide it for free. Or alternatively, and what I'm going to do here is add a new page to the not linked section. So I click on the plus next to not linked, click on blank page, and now it gives me the option to name our new page. And I'm going to just give this a random name to start with. So Squarespace Tutorials, press enter. It might take a few seconds, but the page is now created and we've got an empty page option. From here, the interface allows us to click on this arrow to go into full preview mode. Of course, there's nothing to preview at the moment. We can toggle between desktop and mobile view. We can access the overall site styles. If we go back to this left-hand menu and click on this cog, we can view the page settings. I will have a dedicated tutorial for all of these options. Or alternatively, we can click edit in the top left of the edit window. And now we can start building up this page section by section. So let's try it once. Go to saved sections, and I've got a load of designs here that are already pre-designed and saved. And Squarespace has a feature now that we can either save design sections to the site or to an account, meaning that if you're building multiple Squarespace websites, you can now take structures from one to the other. This also works seamlessly with squareforge.net, where we have a library of over 300 of these section designs to allow you to create bespoke layouts really quickly. But if I was just to click on this section here, we can see now that the section has been added, and it should, unless there's been any changes that I don't know about, it should work on mobile view as well. From this point, we can either add new blank sections, and I'd recommend doing this in desktop view. Get it working in desktop view, then switching back to mobile. But now we can add in content blocks directly. But this all feeds from adding the page in the first place. And by clicking on that plus icon, that's how we add the pages. Before we wrap up this tutorial, I just want to talk you through some of the other options as well. So we've got blank page. That's what I'd recommend in the vast majority of cases. Page layouts will give you the option to build up via Squarespace own templates, but they are a little stale now. They haven't been updated recently. And I would strongly recommend giving SquareForge a try, even if you just want it for free inspiration. Scheduling allows you to integrate a calendar system so you can take bookings, and it uses Acuity scheduling, which is built in and owned by Squarespace. We then have the blog. The difference between a blog and a blank page, well, in fact, there are two key differences. The first one is the blog allows you to put multiple posts to one section. So you get a listing page where you see the excerpt, the title, and a thumbnail for the blog. You click on that where you go through to the full blog post. We also use blogs with a little bit of custom code to create interactive directories. Store is very similar to blog post, but it allows you to add products. And actually, before I move on any further, you'll find blog and store pages are more limited. They don't have the section designs that we've got, as I've shown you in the example with the text pages. And so we need to consider that as well. Portfolio is more of a rigid way of showing kind of a glossy brochure for certain sections of your page. Events will work very similarly to a blog post, but the date format is switched. So it will show everything coming up in the future, whilst the blog post shows everything from today into the past. Videos is a video gallery option, allowing you to show a full library of video content. And then course content, depending on the level of subscription you've got, will decide how much access you have to this section. But here you can create and upload your own course content, whether you want to host it within Squarespace own storage or externally. Drop down and link are the other two I would use. Member sites that we can see on the left hand side here. That's a restricted area for members only, whether you decide to charge them or provide that for free. The drop-down is the folder system that we've seen here, where we can expand, and it groups pages in submenus. Please note that the folder is not a page itself. So if we click on it, nothing will happen. And finally, link will allow you to link to an internal page within the site where it maybe appears twice on the menu system. So under, we've got Web Design 101, it could be under Build Your Own Website and Design Careers, and we can only put it on one drop-down menu as the actual physical page. So instead of having to duplicate that page, which is an absolute mess, what we can do is use the link option on the second menu location so we can reroute our viewers back to that same page. Alternatively, if we had a separate members area calendar page to take online bookings or other software that we wanted to link to, for example, an IT company providing a support page that sits elsewhere, we can use the link option instead and then enter in the URL of our third-party website. And that's it. That's how we can add new pages to our navigation in Squarespace. I'm going to show you how we can change the page settings. And this is essentially everything that we can't see on the page itself. So this is a blank test page that I created in the previous tutorial. But if we were to look at the home page here, how do we change the URL that sits at the top? As this is the home page, there is no direct URL for this, but let's go to FAQs as an example. And we can see that it's the website address. This changes from the admin access URL to the full URL, which is in this case pixelhaze.academy. And then we've got the page name after the /. So we need to make sure we include that / when creating links to direct pages. But if we wanted to change that section there, how the page appears, its position on the menu, many of these are managed directly by the admin system itself. So if I click on this arrow in the top right hand corner, I can toggle between preview mode and edit mode. And I'm going to go back to pages on the left hand menu. If you can't see this here, there'll be an arrow to take you back to the root admin menu that will allow us to access the pages. So I now click on pages and we can see our main navigation. The folders are all collapsed at the moment, but we can expand them to view the pages that sit under the folder. Bear in mind that the folder itself is not a link, so I can't click on About. I'd have to hover over it, then find one of the subpages via the menu system. But that's a really good way of having multiple pages on one menu system. Because this is a live working website, I'm not going to be editing that top level menu, and instead I'm going to go to Not Link section. And this is the Squarespace tutorials page that we created in the previous guide. I'm going to hover over this section and now click on this cog icon that will bring up a pop-up window with the page settings. So we're going to start with General. We've got the page title, and it says here it will appear in the top of the browser window. What does that mean? Essentially, it will appear on this tab here. And if I hover over it for long enough, we can change the latter part of this title, so everything after the Pixel Haze Academy and then the hyphen, to the individual page. So this is really good to make sure that we are being descriptive about the content on the page. And also, this is something that will help with SEO search results as well. I made the choice of going something broader and something akin to building a brand as opposed to niching down with the browser title of my homepage. If I wanted to niche down further, it could be, for example, Squarespace courses and guides. That would be more niche, but it doesn't tell the full story of Pixel Haze Academy. So in this case, we can change the page title to give Google an indication of the type of content on the page, which reinforces the message. Then we have the navigation title. The navigation title will appear in the menu system or the navigation across the top of this site. We can see a little bit of it in the background here where the pop-up is covering it. So that allows us to go for shorter navigation titles to reduce the amount of space needed on that main navigation, should I decide to move that up into the main nav. So whilst we can have a longer, more detailed title, which is good for search engines, of course within reason, in our browser title, we can have a shorter version in our navigation to save space. And the next step is something I would recommend with all Squarespace pages. But if the website is live, you may have to do an extra step, which is update 301 redirects, and I will create a separate tutorial on how to do that to make these changes without having any negative impact on search engines. But personally, I don't like this URL slug format where it shows a hyphen and then 1. So instead, we need to come up with another naming convention. The reason that Squarespace has done this is to protect an existing page that's Squarespace tutorials. And so that previous page would have been in this exact format. So therefore, it puts the -1 at the end because you cannot have two pages with the same URL. So what we could do is rename this and-guides, more detailed in the URL slug. And if you're wondering, this again will be picked up by Google. It's another way of putting our keywords in there, again, as long as we don't go overboard, to show to Google that we are targeting the word tutorials. So we can see here Squarespace tutorials, Squarespace tutorials, Squarespace tutorials. It's a way of increasing what we call keyword density without repeating that word 30 times in the page content, which comes across as spamming. Next up, we have a relatively new feature, the QR codes. This allows people to access the page via a QR code option. If I was to toggle that on, we can download that QR code and maybe use Canva or other print materials to print it off as a sticker, for example, to take you directly to this page. There are other tools that will allow you to create custom looking QR codes, but if you're after something quick and that will work straight away, that's a really convenient option. We can switch a page from live to draft by just toggling that off. It will become faded out in the menu system, so we know that that page is not enabled. I'm just going to re-enable it at the moment. We've got the option then to set a password for the page. Now this is different to a member page where you can restrict multiple pages depending on a username and password. This is a cruder password protected option, but it's really good if you wanted a short-term temporary page that wasn't handling anything overly sensitive like personal information or financial information, and that will give you some flexibility and some options to update. Finally, to wrap up this tutorial, we'll have a separate tutorial to cover all the other parts of page settings. We can duplicate a page, so if we've got a structure exactly as we like it, we can duplicate it. Or if you're a business owner working with a professional designer, but you want to make content changes yourself, you could always duplicate the page to take a snapshot of that page before you start meddling with the overall layout. That means happy designer, happy you, because you've got that safety net and you can delete that page afterwards. But if you are in a point where you need to reinstate that page, bear in mind that that page that you duplicate it to will have either copy or /1 in the URL slug. Finally, we can set the page as a home page, so you can change your home page from one to another on Squarespace. And that's the general settings for page settings in Squarespace. Next up, we're going to go through the navigation options, SEO information, social image and what that means, and advanced options where you can inject code specifically for that page. So I'll catch you up in that tutorial, or otherwise I'll hope to see you soon. Cheers.